Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator news and updates. In this episode, we have an update from the PMDG side of the fence with regards to the 737, the EFB, as well as a little news on the 777. We have some new information coming out of the Aerosoft gate with the A330 doing some sound testing and displaying that for all of us, as well as Latin VFR's A321, A319 series has also been updated. And finally, the big one, Simwork Studios Pilatus PC-12 update, where they provided a ton of information, including the expected price point of the aircraft. Stick around, guys. Make sure, if you guys can, that you join us at Flight Sim Expo 2023. That's right, Overkill Simulations is going to be present this year, guys, at the Lone Star Museum in Houston, Texas. If you guys are interested in joining us there, be sure to check down the description below. There is a coupon code that can save you guys a bit of money using my personal reference to get you there. Again, that'll save you a bit of cash in your Flight Sim Expo 2023 experience. This is going to be June 23rd through the 25th of 2023. Again, in Houston, Texas, at the Lone Star Flight Museum. I went a few years ago in Las Vegas, and they are an absolute great time. There's some very, very informative and educational seminars to help better your flight simming experience, as well as a ton of developers of both hardware and software that you guys actually get to try out, essentially a try before you buy experience, as well as talking with the developers themselves and finding out what the products are all about. So again, guys, it's going to be Flight Sim Expo 2023 in Houston, Texas. I hope to see you guys all there. Don't forget to use my coupon code that you can find down in the description below. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides or simply interested in supporting the channel, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future guides that come along down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below, and thank you to all of my current subscribers. All right, so first up, Robert Rendazzo from PMDG took to the forums and provided us some new information in regard to the 737 series. First up on the EFB is finally getting some very significant progress done. We still don't have any kind of release information of it yet. But remember, guys, there was a pretty major issue in regard to the C++ edition with WASM. Working with those two APIs was creating quite the headache and required the EFB to be basically built completely from the ground up. And then I remember there was some time before Christmas where there was a sim update that really created a pretty significant setback to the progress. Now, it does seem like that progress is coming along very nicely now, and we even have a little bit of information in regard to things like the integration of the SimBrief and Navigraph applications, in which Rendazzo states that we will definitely be very, very happy with how tight and seamless that integration seems to be. Remember, this EFB is quite a bit different than most EFBs that we've seen, as it's going to be a universal EFB amongst all of the PMDG product line for Microsoft Flight Simulator. So there's a whole lot more to it than just having an EFB inside of the aircraft. Now, obviously, you're going to still be able to do things like adjusting fuel balance, etc., and things like that, as well as knowing PMDG's work in the efforts that they put into their products. You're probably going to be able to control just about every aspect of operating the aircraft from there in regards to anything that's external or in preparation of flight. Now, also talking about the PMDG 737 for a minute, this is going to be mentioning it for the Xbox. We do have information stating that the 737 does exist from the development side on the Xbox and is performing very, very well. And that is definitely a good sign. They are not releasing it as of yet simply because they have to do a bit more testing, and they want to make sure that they have all the information that is necessary and to make that valid decision. Now, Rendazzo also states that he is basically waiting for the green light from the development team to state when a release or expected release of the PMDG 737 series of aircraft over to the Xbox is to be expected. Next up on the list, they also have a 737 livery package that the goal was to have that to be free of charge to 737 owners via the Microsoft Marketplace. But now they are running into an issue where it seems like there's a stipulation. Now that stipulation it's not clear whether that's coming from Microsoft or Asobo, but basically saying that there is a $499 minimum US dollar cost that must be applied before any product can be put onto the marketplace, despite the fact that there are numerous products that exist on the marketplace that actually don't have any cost at all. So as far as that goes, again, we are waiting to hear more information. It sounds like they're digging in to find out why, if any cost truly does have to be applied prior to applying this livery package to the marketplace. So stay tuned for more information on that. Finally, little to no information was provided on the 777 other than to state is in development, and that development is coming along very, very nicely. Now, many of us on YouTube, as well as on the forums and other news sites, are also anticipating a pretty significant announcement come the FS Expo 2023 that's happening this June at the Lone Star Air Museum in Hobbytown, Texas. So knowing PMDG is going to be there and knowing what their previous historical announcements are always like, they like to make a big bang. I'm willing to bet my money that we're going to see the 777 for the first time at the FS Expo coming this June. So I will be there, guys. I will be your eyes and ears on the ground as best as I can. I'll be putting out plenty of YouTube shorts. I'm going to be taking a ton of notes, doing some interviews if I can. You know, obviously not intruding on anybody else's ability to do what they need to do. But I'll definitely have a ton of information ready for you upon the return, as well as trying to put out as much content as I can while I'm actively in Texas. So stay tuned to the channel when that comes around, because again, I'm going to be there and I will be getting you guys as much information as I can. Aerosoft has returned to the YouTube stream again with a work in progress. Please remember that work in progress, meaning that the progress is not complete. And so these are not the final sounds that you will hear, but they have given a very awesome introduction into the sound set for the A330 in regard to engine startup and from both the internal and external views. Now, there are definitely some things that need to be worked on, but the comments, guys, some of the comments in these videos are really crappy. Please make sure if you guys are one to leave criticism or feedback, keep it effective, keep it kind, and remember that, you know, this is hard to do. Like, this is some pretty tough stuff, you know, and we're not the ones building it. So keep that in mind. Make sure that you keep your comments kind and respectful. Just giving some friendly advice there. I am personally pretty excited about the sound set that they seem to be applying to this particular aircraft. Yes, it's got some ways to go, but I really am enjoying what I have heard thus far. They're also doing something a bit different. I'm going to have two links down in the description for these particular sound sets. One of them is going to be the base sound set, and the other one is going to be what they are calling a headphone simulation, where they are actually going to be simulating what a pilot hears from the flight deck with their headphones on to give you that more realistic experience of what you would be hearing should you have been the pilot in command of one of these aircraft from the internal flight deck of the aircraft and they are simulating, I believe it was with a set of Bose headphones that the pilots are very commonly wearing in today's aviation. So very interesting take on that. It sounds like that headphone simulation will be something that is of choice. You can toggle it on and off. But I really appreciate what they were trying to do here, and I think the sounds are coming along very nicely. Yes, there was some room for improvements, but it's very nice that they are sharing that progress with us. Again, both of those links will be down in the description. Moving over to Latin VFR's A321, A319 series of aircraft. They have received a pretty significant update. I believe they're calling this version 2.0, in which case there are many updates and new features to both the EFB as well as avionics and overall feature list of the aircraft. Now, before you guys go jump into heels, let me make it very clear. This was one of the things that I was very impressed with Latin VFR upon their initial announcement of these particular series of aircraft. They stated right from the get-go that these are not meant to be high-fidelity a study level, dare I say it, aircraft. They are meant to be a sort of middle ground between the default A320 or A300 series of aircraft and the Phoenix A320, which we all know is extremely high fidelity and feature rich. So, your placement of order would be default being the lowest grade, Latin VFR coming up next, Flybywire, and then probably the Phoenix A320 being the most, again, dare I say, study level, goal-oriented aircraft of the A300 series of aircraft, or A319, A321. Now, again, they have implemented some new changes to the EFB, adding many more features of nature of customization and configuration of the aircraft, as well as enhancing the overall feature of the flight deck and some of the avionics and performance of the aircraft in general. Now, remember, with the A319 and A321 series of aircraft, you do have the option of the shorter variant, as well as the larger of the aircraft with the A321neo, which is the new engine option, having the newer engines available as well. They are a very, very nicely done set of aircraft, you guys, and they do absolutely have a place in the flight simulation world. In regards to, it depends on what you're looking for from any of these sets of aircraft, so keep that in mind. They can be purchased from their Contrail site if you guys are interested in grabbing a set of these aircraft. Just keep in mind, again, this is meant for the flight simmer who wants something quite a bit better than the default, something a bit more realistic, a bit more feature-rich, keep you a little bit busier on the flight deck while not having the complexity or frustration and the learning curve of something, even say the Fly-by-Wire or the Phoenix A320. So keep that in mind as you guys purchase these aircraft. They are wonderfully fun and well done aircraft and absolutely have a place in the simulator, but make sure that you do your research and understand what the expectation of this particular brand of aircraft are meant to be. Finally, the big hitter, you guys, the Simwork Studios PC-12. They took to the Facebook site and provided an amazing update in regard to the status of their aircraft. So first, we're going to talk about the exterior. The exterior texturing modeling is just about done. The final steps here now is that it needs to move over to materials, final livery creation, decals, and rivets, as well as a few flight animations, flight control animations, such as the flaps animations and things like wheel chocks. The aircraft on the interior side, again, the overall modeling and development of the interior is complete. It needs to move over to texturing for final detail and refinement. And then hopefully soon we will be able to see an aircraft in our hands. Now, I have been speaking directly with the developer on occasion, and I'm super excited that there is a possibility, guys, that I will be able to showcase this aircraft a little prior to development or to the release, but we will see. No promises on that as of yet, but that is something that I'm super excited about, so stay close to the channel because I'm following this aircraft very, very closely, as it is right in my genre of preference. Now, this aircraft is going to be released in what sounds like 3 different stages, you guys. So let's talk about what those stages are going to look like here. So the initial release of this aircraft is going to look sort of like this. We're going to be looking at the PC-12/47 variant of the aircraft. Initial pricing is expected between 25 and 35 euros, and this is what you can expect from the aircraft. First one's going to be a 4-bladed variant. It's going to have obviously detailed exterior with reds, chocks, and opening exits. For those of you who don't know, reds are going to be your pitot covers, tube covers, things like that. All the things that say remove before flight, gear locks, etc. A fully animated cockpit with custom avionics. There's a pretty significantly well done avionics suite. As well as you're going to have the executive and combination interior with both passengers, cargos, custom animations. You're going to have the risk of hot starts, residual internal or inlet turbine temperature, engine wear. So you're actually going to have to pay attention to damage and potential failures of the aircraft. And one of my favorite things that I'm really appreciative of is that it's going to have direct integration right out of the gate with the Sky4 Sim tablet. For those of you who are unaware, the Sky4 Sim tablet, you can just Google that. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description, but I always forget. The Sky4 Sim tablet is an amazing third-party EFB that does just about anything, you guys. It's really amazing. It's handy for charts, for notes, for VFR flight planning. It actually has a direct integration with many of the working title series of aircraft, especially things like the G1000, where you can actually use the VFR map in the Sky4 Sim tablet, create your waypoints, create your flight points. It gives you altitude, configurations or warnings and things like that. Basically teltells you how high you need to fly in order to avoid any terrain obstacles. And then you can, with a simple press of a button, import that directly into the working title G1000. And I think it also works with the G3000. Don't quote me, it's been a minute. But it is a fantastic piece of software. I love it. And it works in both 2D and VR. So definitely look into that if you guys haven't already. It is in very, very well done. You can also search my channel. Just search Sky4 Sim, and you guys will find more than one video on that particular piece of software. And then the second release, obviously, we're going to see things like bug fixes and performance updates, things like that. But as far as the second variant of aircraft, we're going to be looking at 5-bladed cargo interior, weather radar, as well as the Simwork Studios custom tablet. Now, there is going to be a third and final release of the particular aircraft. Now, the one thing we do not know is on this third release whether this is going to be paid or free, but it's going to be a feature set, meaning that they're going to simply be adding new features to the aircraft. And these things are going to look like this: a full aircraft walk around with access to engine, tail, fuel filters, and all required pre-flight areas such as oil, tire check, control surfaces. You're going to actually have to move the control surfaces. And then obviously being able to remove all those reds that we talked about earlier, pitot covers, gear locks, pins, etc. Everything that has to be removed prior to flight. And then obviously having that same functionality upon shutdown to put them all back in. And then finally, the functionality of the pilot being able to service any areas or points of concern of the aircraft prior to engine startup and flight. So you're actually going to have to really pay attention to said walkarounds and make sure that you're not missing something that could potentially be a failure during flight and put you into a bad situation. So I'm really excited. There was another general aviation aircraft that I just did a review on not too long ago that gave you the ability to do that full walk around. And I can't remember which one it was off the top of my head. But I remember having a lot of fun with it. And it was a very neat take on this. And it sounds like these guys are taking it even a step further. Really, really excited for the Pilatus PC-12. I know we already have one from another developer. And this doesn't put that developer down in any way, shape, or form. But this is going to be a much different take. Again, Carinato's version of the PC-12 has a place in, and by the way, you guys, Carinato, however you want to say it, okay? Tomato for me. So for those of you who want to leave the comment down below and tell me how I'm supposed to say it, knock yourselves out, but that's just how I say it. Anyway, moving on. It absolutely has a place in the simulation world. Again, if you're looking for just the gorgeous flight experience and a gorgeous aircraft, extremely well textured, that aircraft is perfect. This is sort of like we were talking about with the Latin VFR A300 series of aircraft. This is going to be more in line for your highly demanding pilots, meaning that you're going to want something that's very feature rich, very difficult, challenging. It's going to have many things and features that you want to pay attention to during flight to make sure that you don't ruin the aircraft again, or potentially putting yourself into a bad situation while in flight. So this is going to be super exciting. I have been watching this aircraft ever since the announcement of it. I cannot wait for this aircraft. It falls right in line with the aircraft that I love to fly. Things like the TBM 930. I love the TBM 930. Now, what's really awesome about what they're doing with this aircraft is it doesn't have the full glass cockpit. We're definitely back in time a little bit further, so it's not quite as updated, and I appreciate that. It's going to require more. I guess it's just going to feel different. The steam gauge aircraft feel different to me. Not that this one doesn't still have glass cockpits. It's still got the avionics suite and things like that. But again, all of your attitude directors and things like that, those are all going to be steam gauge and things. So super, super excited for this aircraft, guys. So stay tuned for the channels. We're going to have more on this aircraft as it becomes available. Okay, friends, and that is going to put an end to today's Microsoft Flight Simulator news and updates. I hope you guys all have a wonderful week. Stay tuned for the next video, as we will have one definitely out by tomorrow. We're also going to be bringing some American Truck Simulator back, so for those of you who enjoyed that series, I appreciate you, but we're going to be doing a bit of that as well, just sort of mixing things up just a little bit. We also have some new information in regard to the Sim Motion Pit that I have here from DOF Reality. If you guys are in the market for a very affordable in comparison to competition, full simulation pit, I highly recommend you check out their site. It's definitely worth the look. And we have done something here. We've added some motion compensation for VR. For those of you who are aware of what that is, essentially it keeps the camera in line where it's supposed to be as the sim pit moves, keeping you from having to consistently recenter the camera. So got some more information coming on that this week, as well as we're bringing some full flights back to the channel and the career mode. As always, guys, stay safe and healthy. I'll see you in the next one.